Hi, everybody. I'm Joe Firestone, your host for this panel, and our primary guest is with me right now, and his name, is Noah Buchanan. Okay, and Noah is very, very knowledgeable about the Marjorie Taylor Greene bill, and very knowledgeable about what it's going to do to people. Now, this is a panel show, and we've sent out the StreamYard link. So it's likely that other people will be joining us for this show. Uh, and so we should be getting some broader discussion. But for now, the primary burden is going to be, on Noah to brief us about what a tragedy this bill would be if it were ever to pass. Okay, so Noah, I'm going to hand over the microphone to you. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you very much for briefing us about this horrible bill.
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. I'm very honored to be here. But I just want to say this whole bill that Marjorie Taylor Greene, as well as fellow MAGA idiots that are co-sponsoring it, this basically, in short, I don't want to get too much into the technical details, but basically they're trying to make it to where the trans, non-binary, gender non-conforming communities don't exist in a sense. They're trying to take away the health care that many trans people are already kind of like lacking. They don't have it as it is. They're basically trying to make being trans illegal. And what this bill is actually going to do, it's going to really affect the mental health of many transgender people. Just last year in actually they did the study in 2021, but it was published in 2022. But like the Trevor Project, like 59% of trans boys have considered suicide in the past year. Just in that past year.
Oh my God.
If this bill would to go through, that number is only going to go up.
Yeah, I should think it would go way up because it puts so many barriers in front of getting the care that trans people need, and especially young trans people. But those barriers could be catastrophic from a psychological point of view, and we could well see the rate of suicide just shooting up.
Well, the thing is, nobody really talks about the mental health aspects when it comes to the transgender, non-binary communities. I mean, the only type of research that's really done on it is in like psych journals, but like nobody really reads those because it's not acknowledged in mainstream media. I actually saw an article like a month ago, like networks like CNN, MSNBC, when it comes to anti-trans conversations, they only speak about it for 5 minutes. So this issue does not get attention. But also in the same breath, these are the same networks that are trying to promote a better society for the transgender community.
Or so they say.
Say what?
Or so they say.
So they say.
Okay, so this is a bill which basically stops the young people from getting gender-affirming care, and it does it by stopping anyone from offering that kind of care under very, very severe penalties.
And I mean, as a mental health professional, I actually covered this in my episode of the Trans Files. I work in mental health. I'm actually a practicing student therapist. This puts me in a very compromising position because it actually states in our ethics, actually, it's in any healthcare field, actually, that we are not to do any harm. We are not to impose our own values onto our clients or patients.
Yeah, basically the Hippocratic Oath.
Yep. We live in an authoritarian state. That's all I'm going to say about that. I find this whole argument actually very funny, though, because like most of these people that are saying that we need to save the children, they're saying basically, okay, well, then let's let them explore and find for themselves. And it's like, great, I'm glad that you support that. But how can you do that when you're not even providing that safe environment, especially in schools? They use the argument, oh, you guys are just trying to impose your values onto them. You're trying to convert kids. You're trying to indoctrinate the kids. No, that's not what the case is.
Of course not.
It's sad. It's like, what do you expect the kids to do then? How are they supposed to actually explore for themselves when you're basically telling them no?
Yeah, it's more than sad. Okay, it's unjust. It's
Mm-hmm.
tyrannical,
Mm-hmm.
and most importantly, it's very, very dangerous for the young people.
Yes. And I have a trans child, actually, and she's transitioning right now. She's on the blocker. She's on HRT. And that's another thing that they're trying to say, that they want to stop mutilation on children. Okay, first of all, kids under 18 are not going to be getting surgeries. Okay, the most that they're doing is taking the blockers and hormones. And you know what? It's not like that doctors are just sitting there passing it around. They have to go through a process. And just so I can educate people how that process goes, if a kid is asking questions, first of all, parents, please provide that safe and affirming space. Tell them, like, hey, I may not understand, but I am here to listen. Help me understand. So that is a tip for parents, for one. But when they go to a provider and they want to explore getting on a blocker, essentially what they have to do, they have to go speak to a mental health provider. It could be somebody that has a PhD, PsyD, even a master's degree, because we do have the authority to write these letters. So we sit there and evaluate, because we do understand in some extent, when human development with youth, they actually have that capability to make these decisions, and they have the capability to be independent. But also, in a sense, it kind of, in a way, appeases people's like, hey, they're not just saying it just to say it. It's very thorough. Then they go to the provider, they get what they need, they get on the blocker. And on the blocker, there's been a lot of misinformation when it comes to the puberty blocker. It essentially puts your puberty on pause. It does not do anything. If the kid decides, like, later, like, okay, maybe this really isn't who I am, they can revert back to what they're doing. They want to get on hormones, that's perfectly fine. Most kids, with my child, she's a trans girl, non-binary as well. She takes the pill. She takes the estrogen pill. It actually is slow. They don't give the injections. My kid is not going to have surgery until she's after 18. Because also, you got to remember, even with physical development, youth are not all the way physically developed yet. And when
Yes,
you are going through those surgeries, you need to have everything developed. Like
yes.
I said, we're not just going to go around and just be like, okay, well, we're not going to be doing that.
So this bill has no purpose except to oppress young people
Mm-hmm.
who are interested in transitioning.
Mm-hmm. And it affects with trans adults too. So they want to wipe out access for everyone, not even just trans youth. They want to wipe it out for everyone.
Oh, so are
And like
there
I said,
provisions in the bill that prevent everyone from having gender affirming surgery?
yes, if I read the bill correctly, that they are trying, it is more target towards youth, but it is target with adults as well, because they can't get that health care. If they have health care, that basically won't be covered anymore.
And of course, if it's government health care, that
Mm.
won't be covered.
If I read the bill correctly, yes, it will not be covered.
Should we go over the bill and double check that?
Yeah, let's go ahead and double check that, because I know it is targeted more towards trans youth. Let me go ahead and pull something up for
Okay,
you.
hang on a second. I will pull up the bill.
Okay.
Let's see. Here we go.
Because I essentially found this on Twitter, so that's why I was referencing it. So give me just a second.
Okay, let me share it. This is the text of what was introduced by Marjorie Taylor Greene into Congress. Okay, as far as I know, it doesn't even have a number yet, which is what usually happens when you first introduce a bill. Let me bring it up. Oh, let me do this better. Okay, so which part do you think is the relevant part here, Noah?
Okay. Prohibiting. Oh, wait. Go down. The prohibiting federally funded care, gender affirming care.
Okay, that's section 201.
Mm-hmm.
Taxpayer funded. Oh, I moved that too fast. So let's see.
Okay, so 301 prohibition on funding for gender affirming care, funding for health benefit plans. Okay.
No funds authorized or appropriated by federal law, and none of the funds in any trust fund to which funds are authorized or appropriated by federal law, including funds provided under Titles 18, 19, and 21 of the Social Security Act, shall be expended for any gender affirming care. So that seems to block support
Mm-hmm.
for anyone who's interested in gender affirming care.
Correct.
It is not limited. I don't see any limitation to people under 18, if I'm reading this correctly. No funds authorized or appropriated by federal law. None of the funds in any trust fund to which funds are authorized or appropriated by federal law shall be expended for health benefits coverage that includes coverage of gender affirming care. That also
I could be mistaking that with other bills that are already out, so I do apologize. Because there already is active anti-trans legislation that's in place. Because there's just so many, like I think it was like over 400 like anti-trans bills that have been trying to get into place. So there's been a lot of them. So I apologize if I may have gotten that confused. But yes, this
prohibition on
definitely does attack trans youth.
yes, it certainly does. But okay, if I'm not mistaken here, I don't see anything that limits the prohibition to people under 18. Do you?
No, like I said, like I apologize. I may have gotten that confused with another bill because, like I said, they have been trying to pass over 400 anti-trans legislation. So
Right, but what I'm saying is I don't see any need for you to apologize because there doesn't seem to be a limitation here.
okay, yeah, I'm so sorry. I mean, all this stuff that's going on with the trans community and what they're trying to do to us, it's really been messing with my mind because it's scary.
It is scary. It should be very scary to trans people.
Yeah, I mean, I would not wish for anybody, especially somebody that is exploring, to have to go through dysphoria. It is bad. And, I just from my own personal experience, um, I have never, I mean, I have talked this over actually with Sukuru on our show, The Trans Files. Generations have grown, society has grown. Being trans was not even being talked about when in my generation. So I couldn't even come out to anybody. I couldn't talk to anyone, like not even a counselor, because it was not accepted. If you're a lesbian, gay, bisexual, it was accepted. It was okay, but not for being trans. And that's the thing. This is what I see what's wrong with why this bill is coming out to place. It's definitely a generational divide. Everybody wants to go back to that old traditional value when they don't realize society is growing. Things are getting talked about now. And I think that scares these people. And I think that's why they want to go and put out a stupid garbage bill like this. Like, trust the youth. They know what they're talking about. Our society is advanced.
They want to put out a stupid garbage bill like this because it's a trial balloon.
Mm-hmm.
What they're trying to do is to see what the response from the public is going to be, and in particular, what the response from the trans community, okay, is going to be. They want to see what kind of resistance they're going to encounter.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's so important that at this point they encounter very, very, very strong resistance, stronger than they anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
Because
It
if it's not stronger than they anticipated, they're going to introduce something worse soon.
right. And that's the thing. I feel like, in a sense, like, it kind of started with the Don't Say Gay bill. I think once that started coming out, and the stuff that was going on in Texas already, I think that's kind of been an influence for these other states to say, okay, well, somebody did it. Now we're going to do it. Who's going to fucking stop us? No one's going to really stop us. I think you're muted.
That's what they count on. Okay, if nobody gives them any strong resistance, then they'll conclude that nobody is going to stop us. And they'll keep on introducing obnoxious bills until someone does stop them. Because, by the way, that's the way they operate anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in other words, the people from the Trumpist wing of the Republican Party, they operate, according to the principle of, I'm going to take all I can until somebody stops me. That is Trump's philosophy, and that's the philosophy of its followers also.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing we can do is, at the first sign of anything like this happening, the only thing we can do is to immediately fight back, and fight back as strong as we can.
Exactly. I think what I'm trying to promote, even on my network, I mean, yes, we talk about the division that's going on in the LGBTQIA+, but ultimately, at the end of the day, when it comes to the trans community, we have a stigma. What creates a stigma? It's either a flaw or somebody fucked up. And basically, they use that small percentage of things that are going on, and they basically make that basically creates their judgment. What we've been trying to promote is we need to go out there and start educating people, because honestly, life is short. We need to be out there using our voices. We need to teach people the right information, not the bullshit information that's getting spread out there. And I apologize for my language. It's just this whole issue pisses me off.
No, that's okay. That kind of language is just fine here.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
But yeah, like I was saying, we need to start educating others. We need to let people know how serious this really is. And the thing is, the thing that bothers me personally as a trans person, for me personally, I'm kind of conflicted with this, but sometimes I don't even like to be referred as trans, because in a sense, it kind of reinforces that stigmatizing factor of the fact that trans people are a species. They're not human beings. We are human beings. We're just like you and I. We're no different. We are just living ourselves authentically. We are not trying to tell you how to live your lives. So enough with it. But we really need to be out there in the street. We need to be blowing up these politicians as well. We need to show people we mean business. Period.
Absolutely.
Oh, go ahead.
If you don't show people that, then nobody's going to respect you.
Exactly. We need to stop being performative about it. Okay, see, this is the problem, though. Our society has grown to be very performative. Nobody takes issues seriously. Hell, people don't even vote on policy anymore. They just vote on the fact that, oh, this person said nice things, or Okay, well, maybe this person will do something. Nobody actually looks at the policies anymore. That's just how I feel like, even as a country, a lot of people have been dumbed down. Logic
Yes,
doesn't exist.
I feel the same way. That okay, I feel our educational system over a very long period of time has really declined. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
especially in some of the social science areas,
Mm-hmm.
especially in those areas that have to do with citizenship and with participation.
Mm-hmm.
Things have really gotten dumbed down over a long period of time. But I think young people are much more activist.
Yes, I actually agree with that. I am proud of Gen Z, and I'm proud of millennials, and I am a millennial, so I am proud of them.
Right, and I am proud of my grandchildren also.
Mm-hmm. Because I think what it is, they see themselves as human beings. They know who they are.
Well, they may
Nobody's
not
teaching
know who
them.
they are yet, but they do know that there are many alternative ways of being who they're going to become.
Well, I
And
was referencing more as an activist, though.
oh yeah, as an activist, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. As activists.
Okay.
Yeah, I know like kids are truly not going to really know who they are, like what they want to be when they grow up. I know that takes like a process. But I mean, if they're already starting young, I mean, that's good. Like my kid actually likes it because I actually took my kid to a healthcare protest when CalCare got basically just thrown out the window. I
Yes.
was actually speaking there, and my daughter recorded it, and she was like, "Dad, I really like this. I want to do more of this." I'm like, "Okay, we can do that, but just know that like if protests get really big, I may have to keep you home because sometimes they can get very dangerous, and I don't want to hurt you. So and put you in that position." But I've been telling her, it's like, go talk about it at your school. Advocate for yourself at school. My kid actually, let me go ahead and tell a little story. So my kid, when we moved out here to California in 2018, see, the thing is, people always want to say that California is the most LGBTQ friendly ass state. It's not. Because as soon as my kid went to school out here, she came out as gay. She got terrorized, bullied. The school ignored her counselor. The school dropped the ball on her IEP. She was getting called faggot. She was getting beat up. And one day she actually put her head in the wall, like she was trying to kill herself
Oh my God.
because the school would not do a damn thing. Trust me, as a parent, I did not take that lightly. I went at that school and I bitched at them every day. And you know what? I actually got a response from them. They said, "Oh, Noah, is it because your hormones are off balance?" No, you don't ever say that to a trans person, first of all. And second of all, if we were in a completely different setting, like you and me would be in the alley. But we're here, so we're not gonna do that. But at the end of the day, like she missed out even on education because she couldn't go to school. I even asked him, is like, why aren't you teaching this stuff in school? Oh, we don't want to confuse the children. How is this confusing children? I mean, there's a lot of kids that are actually getting kicked out of their homes, just even being in the LGBTQ acronym as a whole. Like, what the fuck?
Uh, okay. What state would
I live in
be?
California. I'm in
Yes, I know.
Sacramento.
I know you live in California. My question is that you started out by saying that California is supposed to be the most progressive place, but it's really not. Okay, so my
Right.
question is, what is a more progressive state than California in this respect?
Hmm.
Yeah, we're not
That's
really
what.
sure, right?
Yeah, we're not really sure on that one. I mean, honestly, I think to some degree, I will give some credit. There are areas in California that are genuinely LGBTQ friendly. I know San Francisco is one of them, and I have heard LA is one of them. But everywhere else, no. But as far as like progressive states for LGBTQ folks, I really can't think of any.
Uh, okay, I live in Virginia,
Hmm.
and my grandkids are going to school here. We are west of Washington, D.C., about probably 35 miles west, due west.
Hmm.
It's a very affluent sort of community here. We're not here because we're affluent, but we're here because our son, okay, and daughter-in-law uh, were fairly affluent, and they moved into this particular community because of the school district, and the usual thing.
Mm-hmm.
So this particular school district seems very open-minded about who the students are.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been possible, for my granddaughter to entertain the idea that she's not really sure whether she's a she or whether it's so she's sort of experimenting.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, okay, and her sister is also just beginning to think about the same thing. So
Mm-hmm.
there's no strong reaction that she's encountered from the school community for doing that. And there are evidently a lot of kids who are very open minded about this. And they're just exploring, their identities and who they're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
There's no bad reaction from the school. There's no bad reaction from the local community here. Now, I don't know whether I would want to generalize that to Virginia in general.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying is that the communities around the DC area in Northern Virginia seem to be very open minded about this.
Right. So let me go ahead and just kind of emphasize on what you're saying. So, like, as a whole, as a state, I don't think there's like an actual progressive state, but there's certain areas within that state that are pretty progressive and accepting. So I just wanted to go ahead and clear that up. So,
Okay, that's good. So, what are the areas in California that are relatively accepting?
like I said, I think San Francisco and LA, I have not been all over California, but where I'm at here in Sacramento, actually, I'm near Antelope, and it is not progressive at all. It is totally red.
I
It's
see.
all red.
I
I mean,
see.
Sacramento has become very, I mean, from my understanding, Sacramento has been kind of conservative, but it's been more towards conservatism. So, like, it is more red. Like, I see Trump flags all the time. I see Republican candidates getting promoted. I see the Blue Lives Matter flag. I mean, it's everywhere.
So, that can be a dangerous area for you and your daughter.
Yep. Yep. But I mean, I don't want to like put like all conservatives down though. I mean, I am friends with some conservatives and they've been very accepting. It's just these crazy ones out there. Mm-mm. And that, my understanding too, I have a neighbor who is also trans. He lives like 5 minutes away from me, but he has also told me that there are some Proud Boys even in our area. I actually was never aware with that. So like, yeah, that thought actually scares me too. I mean, that guy was kind
Some
of.
Proud Boys are trans.
Oh no trans Proud Boys. It's just regular Proud Boys. A friend of mine, because the reason I know, he was at his job and some Proud Boys had doxed him. Like one of his bosses was a Proud Boy, and they doxed him, and they basically were painted on his car, called him a faggot, broke his windows, everything. Severely traumatized him. And that's the thing that I want people to understand, the mentality of a trans person when they walk out the door, especially the ones that feel like they don't pass. It's scary for us because it's like, just an example today, I went out to go get my haircut, not even like really paying attention that I'm wearing a pro trans shirt and I'm wearing a bracelet, and which never comes off. And I kept thinking to myself, it's like, okay, am I going to go ahead and make it alive over here? Am I going to get discriminated against when I go into this hair salon? Like, what the fuck? Went to the hair salon. There's a lot of people, and I already know I had gotten some looks from other customers. So I was already kind of nervous as it was. Once I got in the chair, though, the lady that cut my hair, she was very nice. We had a really good conversation. We basically were bashing evangelical Christians. So I mean, but still, but that just that thought process alone, like that's very scary for many of us, especially if we actually experience too. So that makes that mental health risk greater.
And you're always under stress also.
Yeah, in other words, we're always under stress.
Yes, if
That's
you
what
leave the
I mean.
house.
If it's not this bill that's going to do anything, like trans lives as it is, because of all that stress, it's slowly killing our bodies. Slowly but surely. I mean, just overall the effects of capitalism as well. Most trans people don't have access to healthcare. Most trans people don't have access to food. Most trans people don't have access to housing. And then they also have this mental burden in their heads. Most of it getting validated by the environments that they're in, whether it's their workplace or if it's just waiting for a bus. It's there. So it is literally killing people. All we're asking as a community, give us some relief. If you are for human rights, give us relief.
So, but tell us about October 1st.
So October 1st, me and my co-founders, Screw Fours, are going to be, we're actually in the process of creating a nationwide protest to protest against this shit and let people know that we are not going to be silenced. So the protest in LA, it's going to be in downtown LA. I'm still awaiting the rest of the details, but it's going to be from 10 to 1. And that's when I'm actually planning for each state to start at that time, of course, accordance to their time zones, of course. But right now we have not only California, we have Georgia, we have Arkansas. I am talking to somebody in PA getting organized. I'm talking to somebody in Arizona that's trying to get something organized, same as Illinois and Texas, Wyoming. So right now we are in the processes of talking to each person that we can in each state. But essentially the purpose of this protest is to show solidarity. You don't have to be in the LGBTQIA plus. Be an ally. That's what I really want to demonstrate. If you are a LGBTQIA plus ally, please be there or show some form of support. You don't have to march in the streets. Heck, you can run a little booth. It has no limit as long as awareness is getting spread. That's what matters. And letting people know, hey, with my LGBTQIA plus siblings, let's bring this saying back. We're here, we're queer, we're not going anywhere. Bring that back.
Solidarity is so important
It
in
is.
terms of all of our movements here. You notice I'm wearing the red beret.
Mm-hmm.
The red beret is for Medicare for all.
Yep, I got one of those too.
Oh, do you have one of those too?
Yes, I actually am part of Sukaru's part in the Red Berets, the Cal
Oh,
Red
great!
Berets.
That's great. Yeah, but actually, but Sukuru and I are quite friendly, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, actually, through the Red Berets. But for those of us in movements, the whole thing is really solidarity.
Mm-hmm.
We have to support each other because we will all rise together or sink together.
Mm-hmm.
So, solidarity with trans people, whether you're LGBTQ IA plus or not, uh, you have to support the movement
Mm-hmm.
if you want your own movement to be supported. We
Mm-hmm.
all have to stand but together because we all have to face the fact that
Mm-hmm.
we're under a fascist threat
Mm-hmm.
and they want to divide us.
Mm-hmm.
They thrive on dividing us.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't afford to be divided and we have to stand up for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes standing up for the smallest segment of us. There may not be too many who are in the LGBTQIA plus community, but they deserve the support, okay, of all of the rest of us. Because in
Mm-hmm.
so many ways, they're being oppressed in the same way that the rest of us, okay, are being oppressed.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to work together. We have to stand together. We have to protest together. And we have,
And oh, go ahead. Sorry.
that's quite all right. Here, you go ahead. I was just about done anyway.
Well, I was going to say to my LGBTQIA siblings, please, we need to repair this division right now. Like, I'm serious. And I'm mainly referring to the LGB portion of that acronym because there is a lot of division between us and them. Please stop listening to the turf rhetoric because essentially that is what fueled these bills that are going on right now is the turf movement. Right wingers have taken it to extreme. Please stop listening to turfs. Please remember as well, the trans community stood with you when you were going through your oppression. And let me just actually make a statement about this. Oppression is oppression. It is not who is more important. Okay, leave that entitlement at the door. Okay, like save that for your own self. Just universally agree oppression is oppression. It's bad, it's horrible, and we can't take it. We have been told as a whole in the acronym that we need to shut the fuck up and stay silent about it. Okay, don't listen to that. You need to be out there using your voice.
Okay, so please explain to us what TARC stands for.
Oh, turfs. It's trans exclusionary well, some people said reactionary, but trans exclusionary radical feminist.
Ah, okay, I see. Okay.
They are the worst type of vile. Like they basically are a shame when it comes to women's rights movements. They act like they know what's best for women. They promote the argument that basically trans people are trying to erase them, like erase women, when that's
Oh,
not the case.
that's
They're the
ridiculous.
ones that's spreading all this misinformation when it comes to trans youth and the puberty blockers. They've gotten, and the thing is, the turf movement needs to not be underestimated. Like they are powerful. They got big names that are supporting them, like people like J.K. Rowling. Like she is the main one that's doing it. There's many others as well. But like that shit that they're saying, like right wingers pick that up and they're able to go ahead and say, okay, well, this is true.
Okay, and they use that, and then they divide us,
Yes, at
and
least
then
when it
use
comes
your
to the
term.
LGBTQIA plus, at least when it comes to us, because there's been a lot. Well, for us, it's been like the lesbians and the gays that have been attacking the trans community. And it's like, no, you guys are sitting there and are trying to erase people. Like, I can give you an example actually. So, like, when I came out as trans, like, I was welcomed in with lesbians and gays, and I'm like, hey, yay, cool. The moment my daughter came out as trans, it was like, okay, well, we're not going to acknowledge you as a he, him. You're a bad mother. Like, you should not be doing this to your son. I mean, it was ridiculous. They are vile. And I encourage everybody to like really not interact with them because they're also that powerful. They can get accounts shut down. They are a very dangerous movement, and it honestly needs to be stopped. We need to fight against that. I that's where I kind of blame like the core group of people that has inspired many of these people to come up with these bills.
Okay. Hey, Greg, I see you out there. There is a link that's in the Facebook chat, which I put there especially for you to use. So, how would you like to join us? Okay, he may or may not. I might be embarrassing him just a little bit.
Hey, the more the merrier.
Yeah, the more the merrier is right. And
We need
Steve, Steve Wolfbrandt, if you've got some views you'd like to express.
Cool. Looks like we may have some people joining.
I hope so. And Brandy, we're missing you up here. Okay, and the link, by the way, is in the Slack.
Shout out to Brandy. I love you. Thank you for convincing me to do this.
And thank you for getting me on here too, Brandy. Now all that is missing is yourself and also Dolores.
So yeah, just to give a recap, because I see a question that was asking about Sukaru. Sukaru is actually in a meeting with a group that's willing to help us when it comes to the LA protest. And they're talking to other groups as well on organizing in other states.
Hey, Greg.
Well, hi there.
How are you doing?
If I was any better, I'd be twins. This is literally my first time ever joining one of these live things.
Well, you sound great.
Well, thank you.
Have you been in touch with Noah?
With who?
With Noah. Right here.
Yep, I'm right above. Yep.
Yeah, I'll be in touch with him here soon to organize some stuff here in Georgia.
Yeah, he was talking about organizing some stuff in Georgia, and so I immediately thought that he was working with you to organize some stuff in Georgia.
I'm actually going to be talking here soon with some organizers in Savannah, Georgia, and Atlanta, Georgia, possibly Augusta, Georgia, maybe even Macon, Georgia, which is like our most LGBTQIA friendly cities in the state of Georgia. Atlanta, more so the others. We also have Savannah, which is a very, very LGBTQ friendly city. And when you think of Savannah, Georgia, you think of a very openly and accepting city, which it is.
That's amazing to hear, honestly. I've always kind of figured Atlanta was probably an LGBTQIA plus friendly city. I kind of noticed some of the bigger cities are friendlier.
Oh, it is. We even have Statesboro, Georgia, which is a college town that encompasses Georgia Southern University, a satellite campus of East Georgia State College, and Agee Technical College, which is also an openly LGBTQ friendly city as well. So I'm going to be talking to city leaders across the board that I'm friends with, local Democratic Party chairs here across the state of Georgia, even candidates that are running for public office here in the state of Georgia, whether they're running for state senate, state house, to get in on this, because we need to make this into a national movement. And if we can get Georgia on board, which right now we're on the precipice of flipping the governorship in Stacey Abrams' favor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is not quite on our subject, but what do you think Stacey Abrams' chances are?
Well, right now they're neck and neck. I mean, it's a toss-up right now to get rid of Brian Kemp.
Will Brian Kemp have control over the machines, though?
That would fall, I don't really know. I think it would still be on the hands of our State Board of Elections, which is handled by our Secretary of State office.
I know he doesn't have direct control over the machines, but...
No, he doesn't. It's all done by the Board of Elections under the Secretary of State's office, but...
Okay, and you think the Secretary of State's office is clean?
Right now, I don't. Just to be honest with you, I don't trust them.
Okay, so there is a worry about that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so to get back to the main topic of the day, I didn't want to take us off too much. So you guys are going to organize together.
Yeah, we're going to have to work together coast to coast from sea to shining sea.
Yep. I was going to mention a point you brought up. I think it's very important for candidates that are running. I think this would be a good way for, at least for me as a trans person, if they were out there to go and march or be involved in this protest.
That's why I'm also like what you were saying. I'm going to be out in touch with them, their campaigns, because we've got some candidates that's running across Georgia that are in the LGBTQ community, and they need to be on the front lines as well as candidates to give them a much needed boost. And these are candidates that are in marginal districts that could realistically be flipped.
Mm-hmm.
And what we can do is, even on the state level, is also fight this as well. We need to also be contacting not only our members of Congress, our members of the U.S. Senate, but also our state officials, like our state senators, our state representatives, to protect trans people on the state level.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we need to fight this at all fronts, all the way down to the local level. Like, we need to talk to our county officials, like our county commissioners, our city council members, our mayors. Like, I'm going to be talking with a mayor here soon over in Statesboro about something about October the 1st as well, which if I do attend that, I would live stream it through the Revolution Evolution Facebook group.
That's what I was going to say with these protests. If anybody's there, please make sure we capture this. We want to make sure it's captured.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to do is maybe get like access to, like, editors access to the Facebook page and record it there live, so that way we can have that documented.
Mm-hmm. And I also want to encourage, so like the last episode of the Trans Files that was streamed on Wednesday, I would encourage all of you to go ahead and check it out, because Sukru did an amazing presentation on how everybody can be involved in protest, and he explains it eloquently. So I encourage all of you to go check it out.
You mean the presentation on Trans Files?
No, on the Trans Files, we were discussing the protest, and he made up a little slide.
Yes, I saw that slide.
Yeah, so that slide in particular, if everybody can go check it out, it'll give fantastic tips.
Yeah, Tsukuru is a great organizer.
I love Tsukuru.
I'm going to be reaching out tonight to the Georgia Alliance for Social Justice leadership about getting some stuff organized as well. I'm also going to be reaching out to another organization here in Georgia called New Georgia Project, Fair Fight. I'm also going to reach out to 159 Georgia Together. We have like a lot of organizations that I can get in touch with about organizing something on the state level here in Georgia. Like, we need to fight this at all fronts, local, state, federal. I mean, we don't need to just tackle this on the federal level. We need to tackle this on the state level. We need state protections. We need local protections. We need, not only that, we also need federal protections in place.
Yeah, we need a movement at all levels.
Yeah, like if you know of a candidate that's running for either office, like whether it's Congress, the U.S. Senate, your local elections like county commissions, city councils, school board members in particular, because they are really attacking our schools with anti-trans rhetoric.
Yep.
Like, our schools are a specific target, and that's where we really need to have our focus at, is in our school boards. Like, we have school board elections coming up in 2 years. We need trans people. We need LGBTQ people. We need allies. We need everybody on all fronts running for any level of office, regardless of what it is, to protect our trans students in schools in particular.
I totally agree with that. I mean, yes, we should blow up federal, but we definitely need to blow up state level politicians right now, because
And
like
local
there
level.
are bills that are in place right now that are anti-trans. So people need to be blowing them up and getting them in their faces and not be afraid to do it.
Yeah, like if we don't take this fight even down to the local level where it really matters, then we're
Yep.
screwing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like they say all politics is local, which is a very true statement. So we need to take the fight all the way, specifically to protect our trans youth, all the way down to like the school boards,
Mm-hmm.
like the school boards in particular. So that way our trans youth can have a safe environment without the hassle of being bullied simply because they're lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, gender queer, gender questioning, and so forth.
But so Noah, there's a comment here from Stephen Wolfbrand.
Mm-hmm.
He says he would be happy to march with you and Sukuru, okay, in LA.
Yay! Well, we'll be happy to have you.
He is straight. He's an activist, though, and he always follows through on what he says, as far as I know. So if he says he'd like to march along with you, you're going to do it.
Yep. All allies are welcome. Everybody is welcome. We're not excluding anybody out of it. Everybody is welcome because human rights are human rights, period.
Yep, transgender rights are human rights, and we have to protect them at every step of the way that we can.
Mm-hmm. I mean, just seeing all those numbers from the Trevor Project, see, that's why I kind of like the Trevor Project out of any LGBTQIA plus organization, is because they keep up with their stats. To me, that demonstrates for me authentic allyship because I'm being informed. I know what the hell is going on. But like all the other stuff that's going with the transgender community, like they wait like 5, 6, 7 years before they publish anything. And so nobody really knows.
Well, also something you need to take into account in regards to stats is how many of our transgender men and women are murdered on a daily basis that aren't even being recorded. Like how much that level of violence is not being recorded. Like how many, like why is that not being recorded as a violent act?
Mm-hmm.
Because it certainly should be recorded as a violent act. Then, if I recall correctly, it's also a federal crime, isn't it?
I believe so. Like I think there's like a anti-hate law that goes to prosecute people for that. I know there's an anti-hate law here in the state of Georgia.
Yeah, but I also think it's a violation of the Federal Civil Rights Act.
It is. Because I looked in the Civil Rights Act, and I think it was re-amended here a few years back to include protections for the trans community. I'm not sure, but don't hold me to that.
See, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up because right now, all we know about is that 25 trans lives have lost their lives this year because of transphobia and misinformation, and they're getting attacked. But nobody ever talks about what about the other trans people that have probably suicided. Nobody talks about that stuff. All they have is, oh, they may have considered it. But they don't talk about those trans lives. And there are many other trans lives that are probably not getting reported either because we have police out there that are misgendering them and dead naming them. So there are probably a lot more.
Like it could be an exponential number that we aren't, it could be like 100 to maybe 300 or 400 times worse than what's being recorded.
Exactly.
And I think there needs to.
Oh, sorry.
And I think there needs to be a bill in place that requires police to record their actual preferred pronouns, whether they're he, him, they, them, she, her. I think that needs to include their preferred pronouns and their preferred names. So that way we get an accurate number in the data.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of misgendering and dead naming them by giving them a wrong pronoun that they don't prefer. And that's what makes this whole thing even worse.
See, that's the thing that kind of bothers me with like organizations like HRC. Like, I really can't take them seriously. But just so everybody knows, first of all, HRC has thrown the trans community under the bus many times. And they have also accepted from donations from companies that have also supported anti-LGBTQIA plus legislation. They acknowledge, like, hey, like, cops will probably dead name and misgender, but like when I'm thinking of an organization, it's like, okay, then why don't you go research that a little bit further? Then take it a step further. Don't just say it. Like, go out there and actually research it.
You know that list of corporations that they claim to be trans friendly? Have you ever looked and seen the amount of anti LGBTQ politicians that they have donated to? Like, have you checked that on Open Secrets? Or
We
I don't
did
know the other one.
we did cover that, I think, in the Trans Files, the very first episode. We did talk about that. I believe Microsoft was one, Amazon, Bank of America, Toyota. If possible, if y'all want to check that out as well. I don't have the actual like companies on hand in my head, but that's just some few that have accepted those donations. Let me go ahead and look, actually. Oh no. Okay. Well, yeah, but that is just the very few companies that do that HRC has accepted donations from, and also on top of that has given them a high rating too.
I don't get why why the HRC is given such a high rating, knowing that they are endorsing corporations that have donated toward anti-trans or anti-LGBTQ legislation, that have donated to politicians that sponsor that type of legislation. Like, why are they giving these corporations a green light?
You got to remember, though, HRC supports Kamala Harris. Do I have to remind people what Kamala Harris has done to the trans community? And I don't give a shit if anybody says otherwise. She is actually,
I can imagine.
yeah, she has locked up many trans people in prison. She has actually tried to stop sex work, because that's what most of us trans people are doing to get income, because at least to some degree we're not getting like discriminated, but we are still getting discriminated because we're getting killed.
And the thing is about it, though, something that would put a stop to having to go into that avenue just so you can have an income is Medicare for all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we had Medicare for all, you would see a drastic number of our trans community drop substantially, because they're not having to put their life in danger and at risk over the income that they are having to get for themselves and their families.
Mm-hmm. And nobody talks about that either. Like, I know on HRC site, they'll talk about it very few, but some of the trans lives that have been lost, they do kind of talk about a little bit about like their struggles. It's like, oh, well, she just got into school, but then I'll actually research a little bit further. And these are real people that are actually struggling.
Yeah, they're struggling to make ends meet,
Mm-hmm.
to put food on the table. And it's nothing more than neoliberalism to the extreme that's causing all of this struggle and the strife within the trans community. And not only that, every other American in here, this country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a sad state they don't really even talk about that stuff. But I mean, like, we should be having these type of conversations, though.
Yes,
And
we
I think,
should.
and the thing that, like, okay, so like, I think that this, when it comes to like the whole like political system in terms of voting, okay, I feel I've gotten shit from my other trans siblings, like, because I voted green, and basically they got pissed off about it, and they basically said that I wasn't a true trans person because I didn't vote blue. Okay, that I know. I actually laughed at that. I was like, okay, what the fuck? So I guess all trans people have to vote blue. Is that what the standard is now? Like, I wasn't even aware of that, but I'm not going to vote blue. I haven't voted blue, and actually, in fact, real talk. This last election was the last election I actually voted in, and it was during the primaries. I did, and that was it in the presidential election. But that was it. I have not voted ever since, and I'm not going to vote again unless I see an actual candidate that's actually going to be in the streets protesting and demanding human rights to be human rights. So that's all I got to say about that. But there are a lot of trans people. Like, I'm not going to shame them though for voting for Joe Biden. Like, I'm not, because in a sense it's a means of survival, because right now we have these little cushy little protections, but they're not really protections. That's why I don't really like celebrate
It's
them.
crumbs. It's
It's
crumbs.
crumbs. It's crumbs. And the thing is, they've gotten so comfortable with those crumbs. They're not even seeing that it's just a cat and mouse game. Because, we're probably going to get Trump or DeSantis or somebody like that, and that shit's going to get wiped the fuck out. That's why I'm not even celebrating that.
Me neither. There's no use in celebrating something if you already know what's coming around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can see it coming around the corner just
No
as
way
plain
to
as
know
day.
what's coming around the corner. Specifically, okay, until just a few weeks ago, okay, it looked like the fascists were going to have a lock on this election coming up, okay, in November. Now it looks different. It's looking increasingly different.
Mm-hmm.
So it changed, really in just a couple of months altogether. And we don't really know what other changes are going to take place. I don't want to hold out too much hope for Joe Biden because everybody knows who he is and what he is. But at the same time, he seems to be getting pressured into doing some things that are halfway decent.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the pressure will continue and we really have an improvement. Um, I'm not among those who thinks that we needn't pay attention to elections because they're all rotten and corrupt anyway. I understand that case. I understand where those people are coming from. But the fact remains, if our movements start to become successful, if people start going into the streets, you still need to have people in Congress who are willing to pass the legislation that you want, and need, who are not hostile to that legislation, in an unalterable way. We do have to replace the leadership, of the Democratic Party, and a lot of other people, inside of the Democratic Party too.
Mm-hmm.
But
Hashtag dump the incumbents.
that's
Yes.
dump the incumbents. But dump the incumbents is not simply about dump the incumbents. It's about anybody who is running for office who is taking the big donor money. The big thing is to vote against those people, vote against them in the primaries and vote against them in the general. If everybody were to do that, we would drive the toxic money out of politics because it wouldn't be doing any good. It would be, instead of being the key to success for a candidate, it would be the key to failure.
Mm-hmm.
So people would stop taking the money.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me that's the only way we're going to get the money out of politics, because the people who are there now are benefiting from that money. So they're not going to try to get it out of politics ever. They'll do whatever they can to block the legislation. That's why we got to get rid of almost all of them.
Not only that, we need to overturn Citizens United. We need to reform the Supreme Court so that way they can never vote on a decision like that again, along with passing term limits on members of Congress where they can no longer run no more than 12 years. Like, once you serve your 12 years, you're gone.
Well, I'm not sure what the limit should be, but I do know that if we can get the money out of politics ourselves, then we can pass the anti-money in politics kinds of legislation that we want to pass. Okay. But until we actually drive the money out, we won't be able to pass the legislation that will stop the money from coming back in.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Okay, that's the key. And by the way, it would help to pack the courts. Certainly would help to pack the court.
And reform the court as well.
Right. But to get those two things done, of course, it's essential to force them to get rid of the filibuster.
Mhm.
And we may have a chance to do that, but as long as we have that filibuster, it's almost impossible to do anything important.
I looked up something the other day, and this was something by a libertarian think tank, which I know most progressives and libertarians do share this in common. But what I read the other day, that the filibuster is nowhere in the Constitution. There's nowhere in the confines of the Constitution that it mentions the filibuster or the 60 vote threshold. That was never part of the Constitution to begin with, and it's still not there.
Right. The only thing that's part of the Constitution is that the Senate shall make decisions by majority vote. By majority vote.
Even with the tiebreaker.
Any 60 vote majority. So how did they overturn majority vote, which is the constitutional standard? Well,
it's all about the money.
But they did a trick. Okay, the trick they did is they put forward Senate rules by common agreement that would block a majority of vote. That's what the filibuster is. It's a Senate rule. The Senate rule can be repealed at the start of any congressional session. On January 3rd, they could decide to get rid of the filibuster. They can even use something called the nuclear option, or sometimes the constitutional option, to get rid of the filibuster on any day the Senate is in session.
Mm-hmm.
It can be done, okay, at any time, and I've written about it, and I know the exact procedure for doing it. And a lot of other people do too. And the majority leader of the Senate knows how to do that too. Okay, it's well known, but he won't do it.
That's because his donors will put a stop to it. That's all it is too. It's all about who they're protecting, and that's their donors on the top 1%.
That's right. His donors don't want him to do it, and so he won't do it.
I saw a comment in there like, we do need to put a stop to mainstream media, because that's how all this shit is getting reinforced, is mainstream media. We need to fucking change the narrative.
The way to put a stop to mainstream media is to use the antitrust laws against them. Force them to break up. If you force them to break up, then there would be many more media organizations, and there would at least be some few of them that would try to tell people the truth.
We need to reinstate the fairness doctrine.
Yeah, I agree. We need to reinstate the fairness doctrine. It was terrible when they got rid of that.
You can thank Ronald Reagan for that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things we can thank old Ronald Reagan for.
And by the way, I want everybody to remember this. On Pride Month, Jill Biden was trying to release a Nancy Reagan stamp.
Yeah.
Now, if everybody is not familiar, okay, they treated the HIV/AIDS pandemic as a joke. They did not take us seriously. By trying to honor her with a stamp on Pride Month is like a slap in the face.
Right, and that's probably why he did it.
Yeah.
Trying to do a slap in the face.
Yeah, because they don't really care. They're
But
only
we're a
doing
bit
it to
off
get us to put
subject.
up.
Okay, we're a bit off subject, so let's try and get back on it. October
Yeah.
1st. October 1st.
Mm-hmm.
What are the organizing plans right now for October 1st? Okay, I know we're trying to do it in more than one city.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just LA.
Right. So it's not just LA. We actually are going to try in San Francisco as well. So, um, like I said earlier, like with the organizing,
Hang on just 1 minute.
Sure.
are you, so with the organizing, like I said, I would encourage everybody to actually again watch that video, but also get in contact with Subaru Fours. Subaru Fours is actually going to be the ringleader in terms of like organizing this event right now. My network, Trans Radical Activist Network, is actually sponsoring it in all these states. Whenever we get more states on board, depending on what in terms of organizing, we are trying to get flyers out there. We're trying to like determine like what type of events people are actually trying to throw. I think in LA ours is going to be a march. But like I said earlier, it does not have to be a march. It can be just as easy as just setting up a booth and just getting people and spreading awareness about the issues. I don't have like all the details with every state that I have connected with so far, but I do know in LA we are going to be marching.
That's great. Let's assume you're successful in getting some other cities.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think you'll probably find a very strong welcome in cities like Seattle, maybe Tacoma too, and a few other places in Washington State. Uh, okay, but what happens if this does turn into a multi-city event like the Medicare for All March did?
Honestly, I'm going to be celebrating with joy. Honestly, if we are able to get this as a nationwide thing, this would bring me joy. That means that people are actually paying attention and they're being serious.
Okay,
We need
but
something
let's
like this.
say we had that kind of success. Then where do we go from there?
After we have all this, honestly, we need to keep more pressure on these politicians because, like you both have kind of stated, like the whole thing with overturn of Roe v. Wade, I think it woke a lot of people up and actually have seen that, hey, like they're really not doing anything effective for us. So, like, going out in the streets is one thing, but then the next thing is we need to keep pressuring people and, like, really keep educating. Like, that's going to be our next step. And then on top of that, supporting candidates that could take out these people. That is going to be our next step. We need to replace everybody that is on the state, local level, federal level. Promote more candidates that are actually going to be out there and fighting for LGBTQIA plus rights, particularly trans rights right now. We need to make a movement of this. That's how you're going to get things done in this country.
We've got
I
to
mean,
apply pressure where necessary, and that's with all these candidates that's running, like the
mm-hmm,
candidates right here in Georgia that are part of the LGBTQ community. They are Democrats here in the state of Georgia, and I'm going to be talking with them one on one about organizing in their cities as well. And I'm also
mm-hmm.
going to be talking with some organizations all across the state. We need to apply pressure on every level. We need to apply it locally, like city council, county commissions, our school boards.
Or
Even,
even doing just a general strike. I think this would be a good opportunity. If we can get this moving, I think this can pave the way for a general strike, which is
yeah,
what we need.
But
and
if you want a general strike to be successful, then you have to put together uh, a movement of movements.
Right.
In other words, not just the trans movement, but also the Medicare for All movement,
Yep.
the peace movement. Everybody has to get together to change the underlying problems we have in the system that's creating all this evil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That would be the goal, honestly. If we can get movements and movements together and we're collaborating, I think we can get shit done. I've always kind of joked about it, but I always say it's like, why don't we just go get some horse shit and put them on their houses? Like, I think that would be good too, but I don't think that.
That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing in Europe right now.
Yep, they're ahead of us on that.
Pardon my French, but those European fuckers know how to have a damn strike.
Yes.
Which country are you talking about, Greg?
I think one of those countries I seen on TikTok here recently where farmers were literally spreading shit out of their tractors all on like local government buildings.
Yeah, that's in Holland.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. The Dutch know how to have a damn strike.
Like,
Yeah,
why
well,
can't
of
we be
course,
like that?
because it was the farmers striking.
Yeah. They
You
were
know,
pissed off with their
so they had ready access to the horse shit or whatever other kind of shit.
I got you to say shit.
Oh, well, I say shit all the time.
Mhm.
Okay, it's not hard to get me to say shit.
I mean, personally, I just think it's sad that we've come to this moment. We basically dicked around for years, and now we just are letting the worst happen, and now we have to go out there and do this shit. Like, I wish we didn't have to come to this place. I mean, human rights is fundamental. I mean, it's talked about in our field all the time. And it's like, if you're not fucking going to meet the needs of human rights, I mean, what else are you going to expect? People are going to be pissed off, are going to be out in the streets demanding to be heard and demanding that our rights be met.
Just like with what happened after Michael Brown, George Floyd, all the rest of the victims of police brutality. I mean, look at what happened there. They got a lot of people. They got Derek Chauvin and those thugs arrested.
Yeah, they made a little bit of change, but nothing fundamental. What's going on is that they're still killing black people all over the United States.
We have way too much incremental change in this country. We need to move away from the incremental crumbs that we are given and go to full blast, full metal jacket type fundamentalism.
Yeah, right, which is why Noah is calling for general strikes.
We need to go full metal jacket.
I totally agree with that. I'd support that 100%.
Hey, let's organize it. I'll help you from Georgia.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, we all should get together and talk about that then. I think that
we need to have like a Zoom call here soon because I was talking to somebody the other day with the Red Berets about doing a national call, which is what is needed. Like we need to do it like maybe bi-weekly, monthly, and see where we're all at.
Were you talking about
Laura
craftivism soon? That Laura is talking about. For, the 15th of October.
Yeah, she invited me to that.
Oh, I'm sorry, the 15th of September.
Yeah, she invited me to that.
Yeah, I expect to be the moderator of that.
Yeah,
but we need to do something. Like we need to get like this. We need to get a movement together that, like what Noah's calling for, a general strike. Even the women who have had their rights stripped away from them, they need to be on a general strike. They should have been on a general strike for months, but they haven't. They have grown too accustomed to being so comfortable with the norm and the bullshit.
Yeah, but I've been seeing actually, I'm on TikTok. Like I've been seeing a lot more like women being outraged about this. I really seriously think they are starting to have enough of this shit. I think we just need to, in a sense, kind of like remind them even more. I mean, somebody said in a space one time, it's like maybe we should try to piss them off more in a sense to be like, okay, like we need to be in the street. You are endangered. They're already trying to like basically say that you have no reason to be independent.
I mean, what to do. All of this really does call on a whole new civil rights movement. We need a total new civil rights movement. We need to We need a whole brand new Civil Rights Act.
Yes.
Yeah, we certainly do, and I agree. We need that kind of movement. In other words, people have to recognize. Okay, we all have to recognize that the civil rights of all of us are being violated.
Mm-hmm.
We all have to come together to see that everybody's civil rights are protected. Because the Supreme Court has overturned it all. I mean, they've really destroyed the original Civil Rights Act in terms of its application. So we do
And
have to get that court packed.
and
And
we need also Supreme Court reforms, so that way they can no longer vote on any sort of they can no longer vote or legislate from the bench. That should have never been allowed.
Yes, I think so too. What you're saying is judicial review
Yeah,
should not be allowed to result in anything mandatory. That at most it should be just advisory.
yeah.
After that, it should be up to the executive, okay, and the legislature as to whether they want to accept the ruling of the Supreme Court concerning constitutionality, okay, of anything. I know there's danger in that, but at the same time, uh, Supreme Court justices, okay, are unelected. Uh, we've seen that it's possible to subvert the whole judicial branch with money, and we see that even more money is coming into this. This guy just a few days ago, or was it a few weeks ago, who gave $1.6 billion uh, to a foundation, which then was bought by a corporation. And the whole thing is being controlled by Leonard Leo, who is the guy who has arranged over all these years to get a Supreme Court that is dominated by people from the Federalist Society.
And from
It's already happened. Now he's been given $1.6 billion to make it even worse. We got to stop that.
yeah, we also need ethics. Like whenever we need the ethics, but we need a judicial ethics review as well. So that way, whenever they say one thing in their confirmation hearings and then they do the exact opposite, then that ethics review board could strike that down. We need to have
Maybe
like
they could
extra steps.
write that down, but I think what would be more effective is uh, if someone is found to have lied in their confirmation hearings, then there has to be legislation that makes those grounds for dismissal from the Supreme Court. If you lied in your confirmation hearings, you're out.
Oh, put it in the refrigerator.
Okay, thanks. No ifs, ands, or buts. In other words, that should trigger impeachment by the Congress.
And make it where they can no longer practice law again or be a judge.
Yes. Agreed.
There is something that you mentioned earlier about term limits. Honestly, I'm just going to say I 100% support term limits because honestly, that's the problem. These people have gotten so comfortable. They don't want to give up their cushy benefits and everything. They want to live the rest of their lives. I mean, hell, I wish I could have their job though. Just sit there, work like a couple times a year and make that much money and have cushy health care. But on top of that, like again, it's reinforcing that generational divide. It's like that saying. It's like, well, you guys don't know what the hell you're doing. We know best. Like, we don't want to like give you a shot. Like, okay, well, maybe we'll take a couple people in, but we're not going to really give you a shot. But we ultimately know best. That's why there needs to be term limits. I agree. I think like 12 years would be good.
Yeah, that's long enough for them to get in and steal all they want.
Mhm. Yeah.
Definitely more turnover in Congress is very important. The reason why I hesitate when it comes to term limits, okay, is because if we had had term limits, we wouldn't have had a Bernie Sanders. Now, of course, he's the exception to the rule, but the real problem here is not that there are term limits, it's that the legislators are bought by the donors. If they were not bought by the donors, then they would have to act in the interests of their constituents. Okay, and my daughter is here, Devora Acts, in the comments, and she says 6 years, 6 years.
Even better.
Hey, Devora, I was sure you were going to show up for this, but
I had to tell her we were live.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I told her we were live together.
Okay, so your plan, Noah, is to go further and organize chapters all over the country.
Yep.
Is what
Because
you're
essentially, like what I'm doing with my organization, so Trans Radical Activist Network, it's more than just a podcast. My podcast is just a vessel. I'm trying to build an organization out of this network. I am trying to basically make LGBTQ centers 2.0. I want to offer clinics for the many trans non-binary people who don't have access to it. Until like we get a system to where we can get Medicare for all, I want to do that. I want to offer services for legal. I want to offer counseling. I want to offer food pantries. I want to offer housing. That's what I am trying to do with my network, essentially, at the end of the day. That is a long-term goal that I'm working on at this moment. Because we need more of it.
No, we do. The housing problem is horrendous.
Yes.
We need to solve that one in very short order.
Oh, yeah. And the rent just keeps going up. I mean, just here in Sacramento alone, like when I first moved out here, like I can find a place that was under $2,000. Honestly, I don't think anybody should be paying that much for an apartment though, personally, but still the principle of the fact is now it's not there anymore. You can't hardly find a place for under $2,000. It's like either 2,500 and up. Nobody can afford that shit. I mean, even with just my side jobs, my delivery jobs, I pass by a homeless camp every day. They got their trailers, they got cars, they're sitting there burning stuff, they're doing what they can for food. It is the most depressing thing that you can ever see. Like everywhere in Sacramento, there's at least a homeless person on every corner.
Okay,
It's
strikes
ridiculous.
me that the cure for homelessness is federal action. What I mean by federal action is the federal government going back to building housing for people, making that housing a public option, and making it set the standard for rents.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, they have to build enough of that public housing that there's always an oversupply.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key. There always has to be an oversupply. So if the private sector starts to raise rents, they'll have to compete with available federal housing. Of course, that federal housing always has to be maintained, which of course means that you have to get rid of all the neoliberal parties and all the neoliberal ideas. We have to have a much greater admixture of socialism in our economy. But that doesn't mean that everything has to be socialized. But it does mean that the percentage in our mixed economy has to be greatly changed.
Mm-hmm.
So the public area, okay, exerts a pressure on the private area so that the private area cannot exploit as it does today.
A federal job guarantee would also help with finding employment for homeless people, along with the LGBTQ plus community as well. The federal job guarantee is the solution to all levels of poverty across the board.
It is, but of course, it's not a solution to the housing shortage.
Mm-hmm.
So you need housing as a public option too. But yes, you definitely need the federal job guarantee. Okay, if I were president of the United States, the first thing I would do is try to get a federal job. Well, actually, the first thing I do is pack the court. But after that, the next thing I do is to legislate a federal job guarantee and at a true living wage. In other words, set appropriately to each area. The living wage would vary depending upon where you live and what the cost of living is where you live. So it would be hugely greater in New York City or up in, say Anchorage, Alaska, or Los Angeles than in some places in the center of the country where costs, okay, are low. But the other great thing about a federal job guarantee is that it brings jobs to where the people are. And since it pays a living wage where the people are, then there wouldn't be so much reason for people to leave their hometowns or home areas, okay, or their families because they want to get a better job in New York or Atlanta or Los Angeles, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It would keep our communities much more intact. And that's why it's so important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if Greg has left or was momentarily knocked off or not.
Well, I was gonna say though, LA. I will give credit to this. LA is a lot worse when it comes to the homeless problem than Sacramento. I
Yeah,
remember
I think
traveling
that's
down
true.
there. Yeah, when I was traveling down there, like they were. I mean, I think it was like a little pathway. I think, and it had like glass around it. I can't remember. I know it was somewhere downtown, but like it was all filled with tents, and I just kept seeing it all on the street as I was riding on the bus. I literally cried, and I was just like, at the same time, I just kept thinking to myself and asking the questions like, when did we become a society where we just did not give a shit about people? But then you start to think about it, though, kind of like we've all been discussing about the money in politics. That's really it, money and power. When you have those two together, it's a very dangerous combination.
Sorry about that. I lost internet connection due to a power surge.
Oh, that's fine.
But yeah,
Okay,
we
No
need.
Start says the first thing I do is mint the coin.
Mhm.
Uh, so Go Start, that is Steve Go Start. Uh, I certainly would mint the coin, but I'd mint the $100 trillion coin.
Mhm.
That'll fund everything for 2 decades.
Well, the deal with the $100 trillion coin is once you have that and you're paying down, the debt, which you don't have to pay down from a financial point of view. It's not necessary, but from a political point of view, they're always using the size of the debt, in order to terrorize us. But if you put in the $100 trillion coin, they can't keep on doing that because the money is there to repay all the debt and, okay, as you say, Greg, to take care of us for 2 decades. In other words, the money is in the Treasury account. The Treasury can't spend that money because to spend it, it has to have an appropriation. But as long as the money is right there, then no one can say we don't have the money. So that's the big advantage of doing it in that way. But thank you, Steve, for the opportunity to mention mint the coin, since even 10 years later, after we began to think about mint the coin, there's still only one book about mint the coin, of course, and that's my book. So, of course, I had to mention that. Okay, anyway, let's see what we got here.
Hey, Noah, I'm going to be reaching out to you here soon so we can work together.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, I'd love to see that.
Yeah. I actually see a comment here about like voting. I do agree, like we should vote, but we should all vote with our conscience.
Yeah, not with our fears.
Yes, because that's the problem. We're only voting on fear. If you
Yes,
know
I
what
agree.
you want to
We
go
should
with it.
all vote with our conscience, but we all need to remember that if someone's taking the big money, you have to assume that they're bought. If they're not bought right now or for the next election season, they will be bought at some time. If they're taking the big money each and every election, they're not serving you.
That's why, for me personally, if a politician wants to earn my vote, they need to do stuff that's real grassroots, like stuff like what we're doing. I
Yes,
need to
I
see
agree.
that, and I need to see it consistently. I need to see that consistency, because if I see a little bit of inconsistency, I'm not going to even remotely take you seriously. That is why, in general, I've never even voted, ever. Because I've always known that politicians are just walking advertisements. That's all they are. They just say, oh, we'll do this if you vote for me. No, I want to actually see you do it.
Yeah,
I
but
want to
Noah,
see
you
that
still
actual
have to
action.
vote. And the reason why you have to vote is you have to dump the people who are taking the big money. If they're incumbents, okay, or if they're challengers, you have to vote against them. In other words, voting against some people is just as important as voting for some other people. Okay, I think we as Americans only think about voting for people. We never think about the idea, okay, of getting rid of people who are taking the big money, and that's why the big money controls everything. It was we who allowed it to control everything by not adopting the principle that we have to vote against people who are taking that money. Like, for example, Chantel Brown should never have won twice with respect to Nina Turner. And she wouldn't have won twice if people were following the principle of voting against the person who was taking the big money. Then Chantel Brown would never have been successful. And Nina
What
Turner.
wasn't she also influenced by IPAC or something like that?
She was influenced by the DMFI Super PAC, that is the Democratic Majority for Israel. And the reason why they were opposed to Nina Turner was because Nina Turner was known to respect or just to agree with the proposition that Palestinians have rights. So, because of that, the DMFI, which had huge amounts of money, uh, came in to try to defeat her, and they gave all that money to Chantel Brown. I shouldn't say they gave that money to Chantel Brown because DMFI was a super PAC, which means technically that they weren't able to coordinate with Chantel Brown in that campaign. But what they did was run ads and lie about, what Nina Turner was about. Just spend millions of dollars, okay, lying. And of course, it wasn't possible for Nina to answer the lies. They threw in a few $1 million in the last 2 weeks of these campaigns, in order to defeat her. Chantel Brown also was supported in a very healthy way by PACs of various kinds. And also, in the latest election, she got the support of the Congressional Progressive, the caucus, because Pramila Jayapal was on her side. Why was Pramila Jayapal on her side? I can't say for sure, but I think Pramila Jayapal wanted to block Turner from coming into the Congress because she thought that Nina Turner was going to represent competition to her for the chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Now, she doesn't have anyone, who would run against her for that. But if Nina Turner had come into office, she would have had to compete with Nina Turner, who's so active and so colorful and so out there. And
Like
so,
Bernie.
yeah, and so Pramila would have had a competitor. So she blocked her from getting into the Congress. She supported Chantel Brown. Basically an arrangement was made. When Chantel Brown first won, of course, she wasn't in the Congress, so she wasn't a member of the CPC. As soon as she got in, that January, she immediately joined the CPC because the CPC had a rule which said that if anybody was challenging a CPC person, then the CPC couldn't support the challenger, but had to support the congressperson who was a member of the CPC. Okay, so basically I guess it was in November, or was it in September? I forget when the special election was held. Chantel Brown won. She got into the Congress. As soon as she got in, she joined the CPC, in spite of the fact that her positions were not consistent with the CPC. That locked in her support by the CPC, which otherwise would have gone to Nina Turner. So that was a neat move. So that was part of the reason why she got in, or why she stayed in also. But the other thing was huge amounts of money came from the DMFI in that campaign, but for her. And Chantel Brown coordinated with the DMFI by using a technique known as red boxing. What you do in red boxing is the candidate essentially states the main themes that they are for. And in that way, they give instructions about what the super PAC should be supporting and what the super PAC should be doing. So through the red box, they coordinate with the super PAC. Okay. And they did it in Chantel Brown's campaign. It was very, very obvious. She was coordinating with them every single week, running a red box ad. Okay. And what's a red box ad? It's an ad that has a border of red. It's literally a red box ad.
I actually wanted to give you guys an update about the march in LA. So it's actually going to start in Grand Park and end in Pershing Square. So it'll be from 10 to 1 p.m.
Okay, that'll be great.
When I have more information about the other states, I will definitely post them on my Twitter and my TikTok, and I'll make sure that it gets spread. And once that happens, I ask everybody else to share it.
Okay. If you make sure that Sukuru shares it also.
Yes, it'll also be on our website as well. So our website will be transradicalactivistnetwork.org.
Great.
So if anybody is also interested in organizing a protest, please go on the webpage on the contact us form and just go ahead and shoot me an email. I'll get it right away.
Okay, thank you, Noah.
No problem.
What's your TikTok username?
Let's see. TikTok is the Stigma Fighter.
Okay.
Or if that doesn't work, try Trans Comrade 36.
Okay.
trans gonorrhea.
I'm on TikTok, and I would like to follow you as well, and we can follow each other.
Yeah, TikTok, I've been having some issues with them. Like my account's in warning status right now because TikTok is one of those performative ally platforms where they're saying, actually, I had the audacity to call them out on Pride Month because they made it their pinned tweet saying that they stand with the LGBTQIA plus communities. But every time that I have gotten shit from transphobes and I've defended myself, no.
You went silent, Noah. Noah's frozen. Here it is. It was an internet start.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did my internet go out?
Yes, it did.
Oh my God, I hate my internet. Okay, fuck Comcast. By the way, Comcast is one of those companies as well that donated to HRC and they supported transphobic people too. No, but yeah, I've been getting silenced on TikTok too as well because every time I try to defend myself against these transphobes, they try to say that I'm bullying and harassing them. And it doesn't matter how polite I am, I don't cuss or anything. They still take it down.
Yeah, there's certain.
It's hard for us to get our voice out there because we're getting suppressed. It happens on Twitter. It happens on every social media platform. The LGBTQIA plus is constantly silenced, but yet they're also praising that they're making it safe for us. They're not.
There is one social media platform that I'm on that does not suppress trans voices, and that's MeWe.
Anyway, I'm gonna check it out.
And it's very libertarian oriented toward free speech. And it just depends on which circle of friends you get on there if you can join like so many communities and such.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll look into it then because I mean, I've been saying at this point, if this continues, maybe we just need to create our own app then.
Yeah, we do.
I can go to. I mean, I don't really get on Facebook anymore, like because on Facebook, I feel like with Facebook nowadays, like you can't really talk about anything serious about there. But if you like post pictures of yourself and everything, like that gets like loads of traction. So I've noticed that with my posts on Facebook. Like I can post pictures of myself, post pictures of my kid, and they're like, I get hella reactions from it. When I try to go sit there and promote activism on any front, it's not even just that, but also I get a lot of nasty ass attitudes on there too.
And
so
you get a shadow ban.
What?
We are streaming
on
Facebook, by the way.
Yeah, I know. And I stream on Facebook as well because I'm still going to try to plant the seed. I mean, even if it doesn't get any traction, I still want to plant the seed.
Okay, I think we're going to get a fair amount of views on Facebook for this stream. Probably more views on Facebook than on YouTube. And I think we'll probably get more views on Twitter than either Facebook, okay, and YouTube. We're streaming to 3 Twitter channels at this point.
We do as well. we stream to Twitter, we stream on Facebook, we stream on YouTube. But actually, Tran is actually also on audio too. So we are actually on Anchor. We're on Spotify. We are also on Apple, Amazon, Google. So we're on all of them. We're trying to get that message out there.
Okay, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
There's this streaming platform that Mike from the Humanist Report promotes called Means TV that he also uses to stream his shows with. And he's also a fierce advocate for the trans and LGBTQ community as a whole. So that could be somebody else that we can get in touch with is Mike with the Humanist Report and get him on board with us.
Oh, you mean Mike Figueroa?
Yeah.
I think he's located in California, isn't he?
No, he's in the Pacific Northwest. But if we can get in touch with him, he can help us gain a lot more steam because of him having a much larger platform than us.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, he's got like what, 500,000 followers?
I'm sorry, how many followers does he have?
I think he has like 400,000 to 500,000.
I think Yeah, he probably does because he's been
somewhere in
on
that
for long
range.
enough.
But we need to get in touch with him. We may need to also. I'll even get a friend of mine in touch with Anna Kasparian with TYT to also get this out there as well.
Okay, so Jimmy Sunderland says, you got this cis white female who will share your content and help you spread your word.
I
She,
love Jimmy. She's actually she's been the one that's been helping me a lot when it comes to trans. So I give a lot of credit to her. She's been helping me in the back end. So she is
oh, great.
amazing. And if I would actually encourage, me and Sukuru interviewed her for Up Close and Personal, and that's actually going to drop Monday. So I encourage you all to check it out.
Oh, good.
We
That's
will.
very good.
Yeah,
Jimmy
she's a rock
Sunderland.
star.
Jimmy Sunderland is a very amazing person. She's a very good friend of mine. I've known her for a number of years, and I'm more than thankful for our friendship that I do have with her. Like, words can't express how grateful I am to have her as a friend.
She is
Well, she
amazing.
is also vice president of KRTD Media, where we're streaming now.
Mm-hmm. But I kind of want to go back to something. I do want to apologize if I did offend anybody who does use Facebook. I mean, it's just for me with Facebook, I have had poor experiences with it. In fact, actually, when I was bullied off Twitter in February, I went back to Facebook and I got welcomed back with a 60-day ban from Mark Zuckerberg because I called him transphobic garbage. Because I basically what happened was I posted a screenshot of people that were verbally telling me in my DMs that I need to basically off myself. And I basically said I'm done with it. And Zuckerberg put me in timeout for a little bit for like 24 hours. But then I went to go appeal it. And so I went and appealed it. And I said, well, if you truly are going to allow this stuff, then you're transphobic garbage. The next day I get a 60-day ban. Couldn't do shit. Like my posts were getting suppressed. So Facebook has not been my friend, at least.
Well,
I'm not going to shame anybody who uses it, though.
Okay, I don't want to hold a brief for Facebook. I'm not actually doing that. I'm just.
Oh, I'm aware. I just wanted to make sure I didn't want to offend anybody with it. So I just wanted to go ahead and just because I believe accountability is important, and I wanted to hold myself to account.
I don't think Facebook is particularly popular with us. I don't think YouTube is particularly popular with us. I think Twitter might be a little more popular, but not much. We all know what's wrong with the social media channels, and we know what's going on with their coordination with the federal government, to suppress anything that is not a mainstream sort of thing. So we're all very aware of that. We live with them, we tolerate them. We're exploring alternative channels now. We'll probably be on locals pretty soon, and we'll probably be on Rumble pretty soon also, because we've been looking, for alternative channels.
Well, we need more of this type of media out there. I mean, all of our networks are. I'm going to assume we're all grassroots. So I mean, and that's authentic media. We need more of this out here. I created Tran because of the fact there was a lack of LGBTQIA plus media. And if you're going to parade around and say that you're for LGBTQIA plus rights and equality, there needs to be a special place where we could do it. That's what I wanted to have for Tran, is for all LGBTQIA voices to join collectively.
And that is the way it should be.
Yes.
We're down to our last 5 minutes.
But like what Noah was just saying, we do need to broaden our coalition and work together and collectively organize to get something even bigger.
Yes, we do. And so I was going to ask both you, Greg, okay, and you, Noah, whether you want to say anything else in the last 5 minutes, how people can get in touch with you, how people can start to collaborate with you, so on. You've given us quite a lot of that information already, Noah. Have you got anything to add?
I'm just going to say trans rights are human rights. We are not a species of different beings. We are human beings. If there is a time to be out in the street, it is now. No more being silent. No more accepting crumbs. We need to be out there using our voice. Again, let's bring back the slogan. We're here. We're queer. We're not fucking going anywhere. And allies, please join us in this fight.
Yes, I think that Lana Dell very proudly stated that the slogan earlier in the comment stream. I noticed, and I know that she is also straight, but she's a strong ally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
We
and
need
Greg,
more of them.
did you have something that you wanted to say about how people can join with you?
If you want to reach out to me, you can contact me through Facebook, or you can join my group on Facebook at Revolution Evolution. We are a group that's pretty much partnered here recently with Kerberos and KRTD or DT, or I don't know which one, but we're
it's KRTD.
Okay, thanks for the correction. But we're going to work together, and I would love to expand the coalition to other groups, other organizations, become a partnership with y'all. I'm going to be taking here soon and creating a Facebook page to go with the Facebook group as well. So that way we can all work together and get something done to counteract the crap going on in our government and our society. And you can also follow me over on Twitter, and also have TikTok as well. Just message me for that as well. I'm going to be doing more stuff with TikTok surrounding this, like creating content and getting the message out there.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Thank you very much for joining our discussion and for contributing. Okay, it was very good of you to do that and to help us out. And Noah, but thank you very much for your discussion and for all the information that you gave us.
No problem, anytime.
Okay, so everybody have a wonderful day. And I'm sure that we'll be coming back to this issue very soon. I'm sure that KRTD Media will be in full support of the October 1st event, and that we'll be interviewing you and Sukuru about that. And hopefully we'll be able to get something big going there.
Yep, that's the goal. That's the plan.
Okay, so thank you again.
We'll get it done one way or another.
Yep, let's get them done.
Okay, I'll be with you on that. Okay, take care, everybody, and have a very nice weekend. I think this is my last stream of the weekend at this point. Okay, bye.
You enjoy the rest of your weekend, Joe.
Okay, I'll see you on Tuesday. Or I might even see you on Monday. I haven't decided yet. I know I'm not scheduled for anything on Monday, but I'm sort of toying with the idea of doing more short streams, because I don't do short streams, but I thought maybe I'd start doing short streams again.
Well, maybe I should join you again here soon.
Well, if you'd like to join me on, on one of my short streams, I'll keep in touch.
Oh, I most definitely will.
Okay, the short streams, though, are going to be on all kinds of subjects, foreign policy, too.
Yeah, well, we could pick a subject and we can cover it.
Well, it's going to be, if we're going to do it with foreign policy, it's going to be Ukraine, maybe Latin America, maybe also China, Taiwan, maybe the general subject of U.S. foreign policy and what a mess we've made and what's happening in the world and how at variance with what's happening in the world we all are right now. Okay?
Sounds good.
So it's
Sounds
going to be
great.
on those kinds of subjects. So long, everybody. Have a great weekend and a great rest of Saturday. Bye. Okay, how did that go?
That was pretty good. It's long.
Well, it was. It
I'm
was.
sorry, I couldn't. I ran in there because I was coughing so.
Oh, I know. You couldn't help that. That's, that's nothing. That's just the way it is.
You get some of your food in the refrigerator.
Thank you. Steve Wilbrand says, "What if the coin gets lost in the couch cushions?"